What's poppin', y'all? My name is Phyllis Mackenzie, and welcome to Care Life Podcast. If you love the expression of creativity in visual, performing, literary, and culinary arts, then this is the podcast for you. So subscribe and follow our social media pages through the link in the description and be part of the family. Now, let's dive into today's episode. And welcome back to a brand new week on Care Life Podcasts. As always, I'm Phyllis Mackenzie, your lovely host, and today's guest is a film director, Nicholas Woods. Please give a round of applause, everybody. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for joining us here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited because we have done several interviews over the past few months, but this is the first time we are having a film director on our podcast.
Ooh, all right. Well, I'll try to not disappoint so you can have many other directors come on in and tell you about this fun and crazy artistic world we've sort of thrown ourselves into.
Absolutely. So I'm a bit curious about you personally and about your upcoming work. So how about you start us off by telling us what made you pursue filmmaking? Who was the Nicholas Woods before he decided to become a director?
Ooh, wow. I've always made films, just even as a kid. My older brother helped me set up. He took a computer from my grandpa's company he worked at. They were giving away computers and like old computers. They were kind of getting new ones, I guess. And he grabbed one that they were going to throw away and was like, we can rebuild this for you so that we can try to edit and make movies, because we had always been interested in trying to make a movie ourselves, just even a little bit of a video. But back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was much more difficult, especially trying to edit something was like insane. So it was something that I've been doing for a long time. And then it was only, and once I started getting older and going to thinking, I'm going to go to college after high school. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? What am I going to go to school for? And my mom was super cool. She asked me, what kind of job do you want to get? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll go into like business or something. She's like, well, why do you want to do that? And I was like, well, I guess to make money. I didn't really have an answer for her. And except for make money, whatever that entails. And she said, well, okay, what if you had all the money in the world? You know what I mean? You've got money. Money's no problem. Let's imagine that. Then what would you do? And right away I answered, I would make movies. And she looked at me and she was like, well, why don't you do that then? And something just like clicked. I was like, maybe I should, because I have such a passion for it, but a complete zero understanding. I'd watch movies and go, I can do that. I want to do that. I think I could make something interesting. So then, I went to school, studied it in City College, and then went to a university where they study film. And, just kept, it just started growing more and more in me until I realized this was going to be my life. And, ever since then, that's been it. There's been sort of no other B plan. It's just been, trying to write stories and create these films.
Wow, that's an amazing journey, Nick, you've had. And I'm led to believe that you have 3 films, which is Darkstar and Axiom, and quite recently Echoes of Violence, which, by the way, those listening, grab a ticket for yourself, and you can watch it on Cinequest Film Festival. Link will be in the description. So, Nick,
awesome, yeah.
Are there some roadblocks that you faced when you were starting out? Because Darkstar was your first film. So were there some roadblocks you had? Because I've met a lot of people, and me personally, since I write scripts, I know one major roadblock you can have is finances. It's very expensive to produce a movie itself. So what were your roadblocks when you began?
Well, that was, that's precisely it. You know what I mean? It's tough getting a movie going. I mean, you write a script, and writing a script is hard within itself. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to write a decent script, to really learn what that takes. And then, say you finish your script and you're like, okay, now what? And as much as I enjoyed film school because of the relationships that I met, relationships that I had formed and the people I had met, film school doesn't teach you anything about how to like how to get a movie financed, how to get it going. They only teach you kind of, how to, what to do when you're on set and when you're making a film and sort of those things, but how to get it going was completely left out. And so it took a lot of kind of figuring out on my own when I first moved out to LA. And a lot of it is talking to people, getting to know people, the people who, I guess my biggest advice there and what has worked for me is for these first two films, the Darkstar was a short film. And so when I was making my first feature film, the Axiom, I was, trying to figure out, we need this can be done for a low budget, compared to, say, bigger budgets that you'll see on different studio levels and things. Obviously, ours is going to be much lower. But then looking at it and being like, no, we need to do it for an insanely low, as cheap as we can do this. Really, how many people do we need on set there? And how many people are willing to, go the extra mile, whether it's, doing little ththings, not being necessary. I mean, we paid everyone for our first film, but we didn't pay them a lot. You know what I mean? So you're just trying, it's obviously not this isn't the big payday that we're all looking for. This is the setup to, hopefully one day we're going to get, we can turn this into a really, great lucrative job. But in the beginning, these films are stepping stones to set you up, and you want to really find people who are like-minded, everyone who needs this film that you're pursuing, that everyone's kind of on the same level, that this film, no matter what, forget the money, because obviously no one's getting paid very much, that this is going to be something that they want in their career, whether, it's the cinematographer's first feature film, the director's first feature film, you know what I mean? It's finding people who this is something that this is going to be the best thing for their career at this time in their lives. And when you find those people, you'd be surprised. Amazing things can happen. People really, will come through for you, and they will leave the project not being like, wow, I hate filmmaking and I never want to do this again, because they found the process enriching because of, it was a great time in their lives.
And in relation to this, Nick, I'm pretty sure that there's somebody listening right now and is like, I'm not living in Los Angeles at the moment. I'm not even maybe in the United States. So how do I get these connections? And will I fail when I try to do this? So personally, because you started off from somewhere, and as you mentioned, you got help from your brother. Did you get any failed film projects? Let's say you tried to film it, you had the equipment, or maybe you never did, you tried getting them, and it just didn't work out for you.
Yes, and that is the beauty of short films. And so that's when you want to make short films for no money, you know what I mean? Obviously, hopefully, get somebody who owns a camera, or shoot it on your iPhone. It really does not matter at the short film level, because that's the practice work. Some people turn their short films into great stepping stones themselves, but usually, they're investing a bit of money in them and doing that sort of proper way. And so, absolutely. I mean, I made so many short films that were really terrible that no one will see ever in a million years, because, but I'm grateful to have made them, because the only way to learn in this business without completely going broke is to, do it. You got to just, make anything with whatever you have at your disposal. Keep your costs low. Don't just spend and spend and spend, because it's so easy to do. And you don't need a lot of people. You just need you and the actors. And then eventually, if you can find a DP and a sound person who also is down to work with kind of where you're at, that's all you need. And then, the more you keep going, the more you can kind of add to it, like these building blocks. But there's definitely times, where I made something and I was like, well, I'm glad we did this. It wasn't exactly what I imagined, but at least we didn't spend, $10,000+ on it. So that's definitely, my advice is just use what you have around you, use what's at your disposal. And I was still doing that for this film with Echoes of Violence. We used locations we knew we could secure because we knew that's how we could keep our costs down in LA. LA is a very expensive place to shoot. So, yeah, absolutely. Use what's at your disposal. Use what's around you. Use the people who are around you, and find people who are like-minded, who just want to create stuff. And, anything is possible. Absolutely.
And when it comes to the choices when you're filming, like you said, LA is very expensive to film. What are some of the hardest artistic choices you had to make so that you make your film successful?
Well, the hardest artistic choice, it's going to depend kind of movie to movie. You know what I mean? I mean, for me personally on this film, the most difficult artistic choices we had were, ones we had to kind of make in the moment because we don't have because we're doing this on a very low budget, we don't have a lot of time. And, that's usually what, some of, my hero filmmakers and people I really admire, you still hear them saying this at a higher level. They're saying, okay, well, what is the difference between, your first movie and, when you get $20 million budget or anything? They say, that all you're getting there with the money is time for the most part. You want more time. So we don't have that. We don't have that luxury of time or to get to come back to certain locations. You know what I mean? So we had some scenes. We had a scene in this film, it's got a little bit of some action stuff in it, some dramatic moments with the actors, and the sun is going down. We're in Phoenix, the sun's going down, and we have 40 minutes to shoot maybe 15 setups in a scene that's probably 2.5 minutes long. So every setup, we could only do like one take because we have the sun's going down. It's just not going to look right, and we are never coming back to this location again. We don't have the money to come back to Phoenix. Took all we had to just kind of get there, and it was crazy. I mean, we just shot. Everyone got one take, but everyone knew on set what the goal was, what we needed to do, what each of their characters were doing in the scene. And to my great surprise, I really thought at the end of that I was like, this is going to be a disaster. I don't know if we got the scene. How could we have gotten this scene with just one take per person? And I'm in the editing room with our editor, and we're watching, and I'm like, wow, everyone is on it. Like every take was usable. It was so miraculous. And the actors still joke about that day, and they're like, they attribute, the fact that there was such a time pressure and such a intensity that really helped them. That constraint, and that constraint can only come, necessarily from having a low budget and doing things the way we were doing. So that was, we ended up turning that into a positive. And so that was an artistic, but those artistic challenges kept coming up, that we have very little time and I need to make a lot of decisions very quickly, and those decisions will be pretty much set in stone. So yeah, it was very exciting. But, there's a lot of pressure with things like that because, we want to do a good job. We want to make sure what we're doing out here, is worth it for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk about your latest project, Nick, Echoes of Violence. It's your latest film in 2021. Like I said, buy your tickets and watch it on Cinequest Film Festival. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't want to give spoilers, but when somebody just watches the first few minutes of it, I actually thought that it was shot in Australia. Then I realized, wait, this is Arizona, right? I just want to ask, is there a house just in the middle of a desert? You just found a house there?
Yes. So, funny enough, yes, that is a friend of ours owns that property. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote a lot of the story and movie because I knew we had that location, and I knew it would be a really, it fit the story, and it was going to be a really beautiful, backdrop. Just Sedona, Arizona is one of the most just unique and cool, beautiful places in the world. But funny enough, in the story, this, it starts off where we meet Alex, who's a real estate agent who's trying to basically sell this leasing office that's kind of sitting in the middle of the desert, and you can see the location. It's not a house. It's not a normal place. It's just a leasing office. It was used as a leasing office in real life. And so, that's how the conditions were in real life. So I just used that exact sort of, those circumstances I found funny and interesting, that, people would just own a leasing office, in the middle of the desert. So I just sort of put that right into the main character, Alex's, backstory and everything, because I just found it so, interesting and kind of fun. Somebody does own that property, and it is in the middle of nowhere.
And you're right, it's really pretty actually, and it's a unique approach, because I'm pretty sure this is my first short film that I've actually wondered, where was this shot? Because you'll notice that when you watch a lot of films, you'll be like, oh wait, that's somewhere in Hollywood, or no, that's somewhere in Wyoming. But in the beginning, just the beginning of watching Echoes of Violence, I had this draw into the deserts in Australia, and it really looks like it, but it was too green. So I was like, okay, wait, I really have to search what other deserts look like Australia. And I just came across Arizona, right. And I wasn't sure that was really Arizona, because what people send in photos on Instagram, they don't send this desert. We know Arizona as the place with flying cactus and animals just out to get you or something. And speaking of which, did you get this kind of distractions when you were filming? Like nature was against you, maybe the animals in the wild were against you, and you just couldn't film right?
Oh, absolutely. It was, Arizona, we're filming in the summer too, and Arizona in the summer can get upwards of, the 110s, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And, that's really hot. I'm sorry, I don't know the Celsius, but it's, it's really hot, and really hot during the day. So, when we're filming those outdoor scenes, Sedona is a little bit higher in elevation than, sort of Phoenix, which is the capital, city of, Arizona. So Sedona's a little bit elevated, and that's why you get some of that greenery and a little bit, it's, that interesting, diverse nature in the desert landscape. But it's still hot. It's still summer in Arizona. And so we're outside filming some of these scenes, and, it was challenging. A lot, the actors are, fighting in this sort of red Sedona dirt, and it's hot. They're getting dirty. It was funny. One day we finished a big scene that was outside, and the actors are covered in this red sand. I'm just sweaty, covered in red sand. And we all go back to the accommodations, where one of the actors who wasn't filming on set that day, he's hanging out and getting some rest. And we come back after filming, and he sees all of us just completely just destroyed. He was like, "Are you guys okay?" Because we were just, and one of the characters was covered in blood, and it just, we were quite the sight as we walked in there. But that was a real trouble. And when we left Sedona, we had one day to film in Phoenix, and you wouldn't believe, we left Sedona at like 7 p.m. So it's nighttime, and we're driving into Phoenix, and you think it's nighttime. As the time progresses, hopefully the temperature goes down, but we're entering Phoenix, which is just one of the hottest places in America. And it's now like 8 p.m. and the temperature is like 108 degrees, and it's nighttime. And so we're like, what is tomorrow during the day going to be like? We were just totally shocked. And it's crazy. We were out there in Phoenix. So then we're filming the next day. It's 113 degrees. And you could only film for like 5 minutes before you had to take the camera. The camera needed to cool off, not only just its components inside that were getting hot and overheating. The actual camera was, metal. It's getting so hot, the cameraman couldn't hold it, and the sound mixer couldn't hold his pole. It was just like heating up in people's hands. So that was easily the hardest day for sure, shooting some of that stuff in Phoenix, outside. it's our fault for shooting a movie in July in Arizona, but everyone just really came together. When you're really feeling the elements like that, it makes the movie, when we're going through behind the scenes, going through something at least somewhat similar to what the characters are going through, it makes it worthwhile. Everyone really comes out of that going, wow, we put in 110% just to get this footage, get these scenes shot the right way. And so it was rewarding, even though it was definitely a challenge.
And despite all these challenges, you actually managed to get a very nice film, well edited. The shots were amazing, and you had an amazing cast. They just brought out the story in a very unique way. And what inspired you to come up with this story, the script itself? Because it's an amazing story. It has so much going on, yet it all makes sense. So what inspired you to come up with Echoes of Violence?
Well, my first ambition when I learned, I'm going to write this story, and we were pretty sure we, could at least get some of the days funded and things. I went into this thinking I want to make a revenge drama that is told in 5 parts, that through each part we would kind of learn about a different character, and that would kind of inform as the story went on, giving the audience a bit of different perspective. You watch one part and you get an idea of a character thinking, do you know him? Oh, he's, the bad guy, or he's the good guy. And then in the next part, you're going to get a different side, and you're going to get a different look at sort of the whole picture. And that really excited me, and I really that was my first initial goal. But then, on the bigger part of the story, the lead actress, Michaela Russell, she is a very close friend of mine in real life and outside the film. And she was an actress in South Africa, and she had just immigrated to the United States in Los Angeles. And so I'm speaking with her while she's going through her immigration process. And now she's trying to go through her own personal immigration process. And I asked her, I say, Michaela, how's everything going? And she says to me, good. I mean, I got I found this lawyer, this immigration lawyer, seems good, but I haven't heard from him. He seemed good, but I haven't heard from him in like a couple weeks. He hasn't really answered my email, and I'm getting kind of worried. No one's really answering my emails over there, and I don't know. And so then I started getting a little worried for her, and I started doing some research about, do immigration lawyers, have they ever screwed someone over? I mean, you think a lawyer in America has got to have all these noble attributes to their character, and that is not necessarily true. And there's obviously been a lot of different cases out there where these immigration lawyers have taken advantage of their clients in many different ways, some terrible ways, where a certain immigration lawyer went to jail because he was pressuring the client in sort of a sexual manner to fulfill certain obligations and try to help, saying, I'll help you out if you do this, this, and this. And that becomes, under the terms of sex trafficking and sex abuse. And I started getting really worried because I'm like, okay, I really hope her lawyer isn't one of these scumbags. Luckily for her, the lawyer ended up being fine, was just not being responsive, but they worked it all out. Her immigration process went great. But in the story, we started going down the fictional route of what if it didn't go well, and what if all these sort of circumstances happened. And we did a lot of really unique research into cases that have been like this. People have been taken advantage of, both in the immigration lawyer realm and then in other sort of areas, and just learned that there's a lot of different ways where people can subtly take advantage of immigrants coming to America. And that became a real centerpiece for the film, and looking at that and looking how shitty the immigration process in America is. It's really fucked up, and America makes it really tough on immigrants coming here, and even people who are applicable for certain visas. I mean, you have to somehow stay in the United States and pay for a visa that could cost upwards of $8,000, $10,000 US dollars, and somehow you're supposed to be able to afford that, even though you're leaving, either a third world country, and somehow, you're supposed to afford that. But not only that, they don't let you work while you're waiting for your visa. And so, it became a really, eye-opening experience. And it was really, I felt really, sort of intrigued by the entire thing, and really, it really touched me and made me sort of upset about how, how not easy they make this whole process for immigrants coming to this country. So that ended up being the kind of the next sort of layer to the piece, and then a lot of other different pieces just sort of fell into place as I was writing the film. And by the end of it, and kind of looking at the whole, I feel like hopefully we captured something that does say something, but it is it's entertaining and fun, but there is a real look at a bit of a problem that's going on here, and sort of some unique problems going on with just human beings and how we treat each other. And so that ended up becoming the greater goal.
And those stories actually play out so nicely, like I told you. It may be in 5 parts, but they all just come together in this big bowl of surprise and excitement, and surprise also. But what I'm curious about is that in the climax of the film, there's a lot of gunfire going on, and it's also in the middle of nowhere. Were these actual real bullets that were being fired, or did you just add sound effects to make it look so real?
Yes, no, none of the guns were real. We got it's a big thing here, and I'm sure everywhere. You got to be very careful with gun safety and all that stuff. So no, we use fake guns, and we try to get ones that look good, that don't look like really like plasticky whatever ones. We get like ones that are metal, but they're just like airsoft guns or whatever. But yeah, you do it, and on a bigger budget, you can have a whole team that they can bring in sort of real guns that shoot blanks and stuff. But that is a whole ball of mess that we couldn't even go near on this film because of the amount of professionals you have to bring on and the safety and everything. So we just said we're going to get some nice fake metal guns and do all that like that. Yeah, and it's just really good sound effects, really good visual effects for sort of like the muzzle flashes and bullets and things. Doing all that just to keep it extra safe and keep it simple, so we don't have to worry about too much,
Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned, you have a different film, a horror film, the Axiom. Both of these films seem like you had a lot of fun shooting them, because one, we have a revenge short film, another here we have a horror film, and this must have been thrilling for both your cast and crew. So what are some of the moments you'll probably live to remember forever when you had filming either of the films with either your cast or your crew?
It's a very demanding process making a film. So there's, going through it, you really become close with your cast and crew. And so those moments, really, working creatively with these individuals, these artists, has been one of the, is the best part of filmmaking, because I work with so many different artists, so many talented men and women, both as actors, as, photographers, as sound mixers, people in the art department. I get to work with so many facets of art. Art, there's so many different fields in art, right? There's painting, there's music, there's poetry, there's writing, there's so much. And I get to really spend time with, I feel like, every spectrum of art, so I love working with the actors. I love working on the photography. It really personally is so enriching to delve into those things, because I'm so fascinated by them and have such respect for people who are masters at this, and who I can tell are going to be these just great professionals at this. I love working with the composer and creating music for the films. That is a very enriching part for sure. But yeah, we all grow really close because it's very demanding, you know, very long hours, very tiring. And, you know, for these films, you know, they have some very, you know, they're very, you know, they're not comedies. they're very dramatic, and there's a lot of emotion involved. So, you know, you really got to trust, you know, the actors have to have a lot of trust in me, and I have to have a lot of trust in them that we, you know, can all collectively go there and really try to find some truthful emotion. And that can be really hard. You know, people don't want to necessarily, you know, we're all as human beings running from our, you know, emotion for the most part all day, every day, just to get through life. But here on set, it's like we got to go to some of the hardest places and really find those moments honestly, because that's, you know, what's going to be, you know, memorable, and that's what's going to reflect our idea of humanity, and that's what we want to leave in these films. You know, we want to leave, you know, a piece of the time in which we were filming.
That's amazing. And what advice, Nick, would you give any person out there who has a dream or maybe wants to dive into filmmaking?
The absolute 100% key is to never give up. Never stop doing it. I mean, you know, we're all going to be doing other jobs on the side to, you know, be getting these careers off the ground. Believe me, I've had many crazy, you know, humbling jobs, you know, in a variety of different fields, just to, you know, pay the bills. And that's okay. You keep doing that. Don't let that discourage you. Keep doing your day job, but just, you know, find that time outside. There's always time to make a film. I mean, you look at Chris Nolan, you know, the director of Tenet and Inception. He was working a regular job for a long time and just decided, you know, he has a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday, but he wanted to make a film. He goes, I need to get my film career off the ground, but real life is dragging me down. So he got a team together, and they just filmed on the weekends. You know, they gave up their free time, and they, you know, look at where he's at now. I mean, it's just, you know, it goes to show if you can, you know, find that time to write your screenplay, you know, write a little bit at night after work or in the mornings if you have time, and just finding that time and never giving up, and just keep going through it, keep writing, keep rewriting, and you know, you'll just see yourself getting better and better, and you know, people will want to work with you if all you have to do is ask them. I mean, people, it's crazy how much I see people not take that first step, because there's, you know, filmmaking requires a lot of other people to help. No one can do it on their own. There's not a person who can make a film all on their own. It takes, again, like I said, so many artists are involved in this. It's a collection of artists. But people get scared to ask others to be a part of their thing, whatever it is. And I have found, you know, you're just not asking the right people then, because there are people in every corner of every country somewhere who wants to make something and would be so down to be a part of your project. You know, you just got to find them, and they're out there. And, you know, what's great about technology these days is there are so many websites now that can connect people and help you find those artists who can, you know, fill in the different gaps of your crew. And, you know, you can really that way make something. Find, you know, for any budget, any price, you just find people who have the same interests and same goals, and anything is possible. I truly believe that.
That's great advice, and I'm pretty sure somebody out there who's listening may take this into consideration, because I know firsthand how hard it is to produce a film. I have like a whole bundle of scripts that I've written for over a year, and none of them, when I tell you none of them has seen production, I mean it, none of them. Yet I'm already planning to do production with one of them, but the process of getting the right people to be your cast, to be your crew, to help you with the finances, to help you even with the equipment, it's just so hard to find.
It is, yes, and I think the key, you know, is again you try to do things as cheap as possible, and you try to find people. Again, you know, it's Mark Duplass, you know, did all those incredible micro budget films. He would make his films with just like 4 or 5 people, and they would have it in their contracts or their agreements that they would just split everything on the back end. You know what I mean? So, you work it out, work it up however it goes, and just say, hey, we're all going to work for free. If this thing makes money, then we will all, share in those profits. And if it doesn't, then, we all made a film and now we can use this to get our next thing going. And people really appreciate that. You know what I mean? A lot of other, certain crew members get left out of stuff like that. And that's definitely how we did things on Echoes, where so much of, whatever happens after is going to be shared by the crew. So we either all succeed together or we learn together and we have this great thing that we're totally proud of.
And Nick, which film or maybe filmmaker has influenced you the most throughout your filmmaking career?
Oof, that's a good question. There's been so many. The moment I first saw my first Alfonso Cuarón movie, that's when I started to have a different idea about what being a director is like and what a director's job is. And I kept seeing his progression and evolution through his films. I mean, he can make intimate films, and he can make, he can make a Harry Potter film, and then he can make a really unique intimate story in space, and then come right back to an intimate family drama. So he's continued to be a really great inspiration, as well as a South Korean filmmaker named Park Chan-wook, whose films I adore and was one of the biggest inspirations on this film. So definitely those two. I mean, there's a lot of filmmakers who have just shaped me with their films over the years, where I said, I don't care how hard this is, I need to keep doing this because of the work that they do. It inspires me so much.
And if you were to remake a classic, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are just sitting in their household, even if they're filmmakers, maybe they retired, and they're like, if I were to remake a classic, this and this is what I'll do. So for you personally, maybe you have a classic film that you love. So if you were to remake any sort of classic film, what would you go for?
That is a really great question, and I love that you asked it, because, there's a big stigma these days about remaking movies and remaking classics. And, I think with the right film and the right I guess team and the right filmmaker behind it, then it can work. You know what I mean? We've seen some that me personally I don't feel like worked, and I'm like, why did they remake that? But there's a film in 1948 called Key Largo that I absolutely love. John Huston directed it. It's got a Humphrey Bogart in it, and it's just a really unique story, really cool. And I would love to do I wouldn't want to remake it, but I would love to do a sort of a take on that story and kind of take it in my own direction, but still set it in that sort of post World War II setting, and set it in the sort of hotel and type of thing that they did. It's a really cool movie. It's just all about these people who get stuck inside a hotel in Florida during a hurricane, and they realize that there's some people there who are trapped inside the hotel, have some very sinister motives, and are there for a completely different purpose. And it's a really, really cool sort of crime noir film. It's really good. So that was one for random, I don't even know. I've just been ringing in my head for so long. I'm like, I don't know anyone in my sort of like around me and things who have seen this film. I keep trying to get people to watch it. And so I think it's, that's one where I think could be really cool if done right.
And speaking of which, if you had the opportunity to go back in time and change something in a particular movie that is actually yours, then what movie is it going to be, and what changes would you opt for?
Well, I don't know. This is hopefully answering your question, but during the Axiom horror film, and we're shooting out in the woods in this cool mountain town near Los Angeles. And I would go back in time, not necessarily to change a piece of the movie, but change this sort of moment that happened on set, where an actor, one of the leads, broke their foot. Just sort of first outside of a take, jumped off of this little, like, over this log, and just the smallest little thing, it wasn't even in the shot, they just, landed on their foot wrong and broke their foot. So that caused a lot of production issues on a low budget movie. Like I said, you don't have a lot of time, and, we need to shoot consecutively, or we're going to start really losing money, or going to have to start spending money, that we don't have. And so we had to keep shooting. But this poor guy he can't walk. He's in pain. He can't walk. But we had a discussion. I'm like, I don't know what to do. What do we do here with you? And he goes, I can stand. And I go, okay, I need to think of some creative ways. I had to rewrite a bit of the script on set, which was unfortunate. I did not want to have to do that. So it did, kind of shift a little bit of my my climax and some of that second to third act transition that I wished could have stayed how it was. But, circumstances come up and you got to roll with the punches. So I had to do a lot of rewriting on set to kind of take this character in a direction that I could physically use him in. And it was really hard. I mean, it's really hard to get someone to enter and exit or look like they're entering and exiting a scene when they are not, when they are just standing still or have a broken foot. So there'd be a lot of stuff where we're filming, all the other actors walk in, and then the camera will kind of move, and he'll just sort of swing his body around and he'll come in last. And as long as he swung his body around as the last person entered the room, it did look like he was walking into the scene. We'll add little footsteps and things, but we got really creative and we made it work. No one would ever notice that this person for a lot of the movie is not moving. It's pretty funny. But I mean, it created so much stress and so many having to rewrite it and everything. I wish I could have spent that energy obviously elsewhere, and wish it, obviously he didn't have to break his foot for the pain and discomfort he went through. So if I could go back in time, I would say after the take, I would just be like, stop running, don't jump over that log, for the love of God, just stay right where you are. And I would have saved myself and him a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to do when you go back, because I'm pretty sure it was in so much pain, standing with a broken foot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he had his cast on and things. I mean, it wasn't that same day. I mean, that day he had to leave and go to the hospital. You know what I mean? So they took him to the hospital, and that's all very sad and, very tough. And the crew is like, holy shit, that's our friend. That's our that's our guy. And, we feel bad for him. But we had more of the movie to shoot. He's gone. He's now getting help. But now we're here on set, and he's supposed to be in this next scene. And I had to, on the moment, figure out how to write him out of that scene and then bridge so much stuff so that he's not in that scene later. I mean, it took some creativity to kind of now figure out what to do with this main character who can't walk. And so, yeah, it was definitely, I think we learned a lot from it, but, you just got to roll with the punches on indie films. You know what I mean? There's going to be stuff thrown at you all the time, and you can't get thrown off by it. You just got to figure it out and, not let it hold you back. 'Cause a lot of filmmakers get one speed bump and they go, that's it. And it's like this entire art process as a filmmaker is speed bumps. You're literally just you're an ATV, you're a Jeep, off terrain, just going bump, 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 and you're just trying to get to the other end. I mean, the bumps are going to come. It's just about how you deal with them.
Mm-hmm. And as we wrap up, Nick, what are your dreams for yourself as a writer, director, producer within this decade?
Well, my dreams, I'm trying to get my next project going. We're hoping to do it on a little bit of a bigger scale. And so, just continuing to, get films made. It's definitely a competitive business, but, as long as you just, keep writing, keep putting things out there, and just keep asking people for, don't be afraid to ask people for help is what I've learned too. Hey, what are your thoughts? I want to get this project going. Anyone who might be interested in this? And, that's how I've been able to find some traction. And so that's my goal. I've got 2 films that I've written in the past year that I am dead set on hoping to film. Let's give it the decade. That seems like I like this, Phyllis. Let's give that as our goal and our parameters. By the end of the decade, at least these 2 films need to be made. So, I'm going to be working on that and hopefully bringing more films out there. That's the goal.
Well, good luck to you, and I hope you get all the equipment, all the finances. I hope you don't get any bad luck when you're filming any of this.
No more broken feet. That's our goal. No more injured cast members. We want everyone safe and sound and having fun.
Absolutely. But anyway, thank you so much for being here today and accepting this interview.
Of course, Phyllis. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me. Love to come on any other time and talk. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for those listening, remember I told you Echoes of Violence tickets are on sale right now for the Cinequest Film Festival. Links will be in the description and also on his Instagram page at nicholaswood.co. His link will also be in the description. As always, my social media pages are at Official Rock. Again, link in the description. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. This has been me, Phyllis Mackenzie, and Nicholas Wood. Goodbye, everyone.
And that will be it for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcasting app, especially Apple Podcasts, and share it with all your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, creativity is intelligence having fun. Until next time, #PodRock.